Welcome back to this special chat we are having with the brains trust of the Motilal Oswal Securities team ahead of their 12th annual investor summit. Anuj.
Oh yes, in fact, before the break we were talking about some companies, Rajat, and what's interesting is let's talk about some of them, like Pidilite, for example, or Ultratech, for example. They have all four of them, QG, LP. But the problem with some of these stocks has been that you always have to pay top dollar to buy some of these stocks. Do you think we'll still remain in that kind of a market where you'll have to pay premium to buy some of these stocks?
Well, I think one thing that this market has taught in the last 5 years, that anything that looks expensive on a 12-month basis, if has a growth continuing over a 5-year basis, still continues to get re-rated, right? And most of the leaders in their respective categories have set new benchmarks of valuations, right? So I think we also have to be more flexible when we look at valuations, because these are very exciting times for many product categories, right? We never thought cement in the early stages of a recovery will start trading at $200 plus EV per ton, but maybe that is going to be the new benchmark, right? But if we are clear that the next 5 years demand is going to be better than the last 5 years, right? Don't just get off the bus because the valuations have, because what you will buy next may be cheaper but may not have growth left in it.
Fair point. Well, Naveen, what is your sense about, consumption companies which are at the moment second rung? I mean, you have the Asian Paints and you have the Page Industries. Would you rather put incremental money in these consistent 10-year stories or in stories that will be the next 10 years? Where do you smell the next 10 years in the consumption space?
Yeah, so basically in India, most of the consumption categories are highly under-penetrated, which is the story for, let's say, the leaders. So for instance, Asian Paints in paints, or United Breweries in brewing, United Spirits in alcoholic beverages, and so on and so forth. But you're absolutely right, while these companies will surely continue to do well and exploit their leadership position as we close the penetration gap, I think there are many interesting discretionary consumption categories that are now emerging which can potentially do exceedingly well. So for instance, there are a plethora of home improvement companies which are now starting to do well. I mean, ceramics is a category that is now getting more and more organized, and reforms like GST will drive market share in favor of these organized players which are themselves under-penetrated categories. So we believe that while the market leaders will certainly continue to do well as the under-penetration in these categories is bridged, but these emerging categories can do far better in terms of growth rates, in terms of re-rating, exactly the same way that Pidilite and Asian Paints have undergone re-rating in the course of the last 10 years.
On Infosys, IT, because now that it's not as loved as it was say last year, and so that's reflected in the conference. But your personal call, do you think it's now offering a good entry point?
The competitive advantage of India in the tech field cannot be still undermined. Okay. Now, it is also impacted by whatever is happening within the industry, but the global economy is slow mode. And BFSI space, which was one of the largest client base, they have, after 2007, they have been suffering big time. I mean, one bank or others, something other collapses, and they are very large clients of these guys. So clearly that is posing its own challenge. Second is the kind of a new technological development, digitization, that's opening opportunity, as well as it is cannibalizing the older models. So where does it stand? I mean, it's an open question in the sense that 10-12% growth they are still not denying. 10-12% dollar growth is not bad. There are very few companies in India which are talking about 10-12% volume growth to have such high quality franchise with a high cash flow, transparency, high payouts. So, I mean, I think Infosys sub 15 times 2018. So these are, I mean, one of the crazy thing about the market is that right now all the large pools of profits are grossly undervalued. I mean, they are available at sub 15 P multiples. Look at all the oil marketing companies, HPPB, IOC, all of them are 5, 6, 7, I mean, depending on whose number is what. We were in 6 to 8 P multiple. Yes. You look at Reliance, that's just about double digit. Yes. maybe even less than
not
10.
even 10.
Yeah.
But are you confident about the 75 rupees EPS for Infosys, for example? Because that 14 times will depend on whether that EPS number is achievable or not.
2-3 rupees here and there, not much. I mean, the P multiples cannot move. I mean, if I am saying 15, it might be 16. But it's not like 26 or 30. What I'm saying is that large pools of profit, this time the rush for mid-cap is so blindingly high that people are just missing out and leaving the large franchises which are actually going to remain on face of ours in the next 5-10 years. They are the companies which are going to take us forward. So it's a very, I mean, every time market is different, but this point of time, all these companies, TCS, Infosys, Axis, ICICI, Reliance, everything is like a very reasonable P multiples.
Naveen, of course, one more speaker would be Rajiv Bajaj from Bajaj Auto, and at Motilal Oswal, you've always liked, two-wheeler companies. It started with Hero MotoCorp, which of course was always an iconic investment for you, Eicher Motors, and now, of course, Bajaj Auto as well. The big question is, among these three, which ones do you think the investors would end up making most money over the next 5 years or 10 years?
Actually, what's ended up happening is very interesting in the two-wheeler sector. While two-wheeler can be generic as one single thing, each company has ended up carving out some niche for themselves, and the moats are so invincible. So for instance, in the premium bikes, Royal Enfield has it hands down, and it's almost impossible to beat them. As far as the export side is concerned, while Hero is trying hard to get into that segment, Bajaj Auto is so firmly entrenched, although the global slowdown and country-specific issues are impacting their own exports, but Bajaj has a very deep moat as far as that business is concerned. Turning to scooters, you have HMSI, which is by far the leader in driving almost all the incremental growth in the sector. But given the good monsoons now, after 2 bad monsoons, Hero is obviously well penetrated into rural India. So I think while they seem like one category, one set of companies, I think all four have very dominant positioning in some segment, some moat which is difficult to break into for each other, and they've become kind of unique companies in themselves. Bajaj itself we think is very well positioned because of their focus on motorcycles on one hand, exports, three-wheelers, very strong balance sheet, strong dividend payouts. So we continue to like the stock very much.
Okay, finally, all is not well with the wellness industry. Which pharma company will you pick?
I mean, we have Sun Pharma, we have Lupin, we have Ajanta Pharma. So I think pharma industry again, I think it is very untapped opportunity. I think still a lot of growth is ahead. We had some issues with the FDA inspections and all, but I think a lot of relief is there in last 4-5 months, 6 months. A lot of relief is there. They have done their job of telling them, boss, you guys are going to become big, so gear up yourself with the quality and everything. And these guys have also taken notice that yes, we have to do that. So I think, but opportunity is very unique to India. Now whether it falls in company A or company B, that's the only issue. So I am very clear that this opportunity is a growth-oriented opportunity, and we are going to get even newer companies which are coming in this sector. Say like Jubilant, you might have seen very recently. So Ajanta we saw 2-3 years back. So we are going to see emergence of new companies in this sector because it's a very widespread sector.
Welcome is in your portfolio as well.
Yeah. So a lot of these companies which are first time starting to export to US, which is the world's largest and most precious market. Whenever they start, their mix changes, their profitability changes, and the valuation changes here.
Final question on Raamdeo before we let you go. Ahead of this conference, do you get a feeling that we could be at the Goldilocks scenario where the foreign investment is going to continue? You said that you've seen some domestic redemption because of profit booking more than anything else, but that will also come back. Do you think we are at a stage like that?
I think it is waiting for. I mean, see, investor psychology you cannot understand. I mean, in the very short term, what will, I mean, probably you people are driving their psychology. So, whenever you push them to buy, or someday they start buying, because foreigners are not going to relent. The kind of interest rate scenario I am seeing, I don't think we are going to see much lull in that side. I mean, whatever little they are buying, they'll keep buying. So, and then after a terrific monsoon, GST, all kinds of ease of doing businesses every day being announced. I think like railway barrage being merged with main budget means there is no resource constraint for railways. You can take up a lakh crore project, 2 lakh crore project, whatever the general budget sanctions. So a lot of things are being planned. So I'll be very surprised market actually goes down significantly from here for a prolonged period. 5-10% correction, anytime it can happen. But whenever this thing happens, when foreigners are buying as well as Indians are buying, I mean, I think we are going to see some new highs.
Okay. Well, that was the trailer from the Brains Trust of Motilal Oswal. In the days to come, we are going to get you a lot more enriching interviews from this conference. Thank you very much, Rajat, Raamdeo and Naveen for joining us.
Thank you.